Leadership has got two phases. One, when you talk about a transaction base, and the other, when you talk about transformation base. Transactional leadership promotes compliance with existing organizational goals and performance expectations. A transformational leader will try to attempt to achieve a positive result by keeping the employee invested in the project. Good morning and welcome to the session 5 in Unit 4, Organizational Behavior, where we are going to talk about the transactional versus transformational leaders. Now, quite an interesting topic. Why? Because leadership has got two phases. One, when you talk about a transaction base, and the other, when you talk about transformation base. Everywhere in this world, people want leaders who can transform the scenario, who can bring in a change that can be quite adored. So let's now talk about the transaction versus the transformational. First one, leadership can be described as transactional or transformational. The transaction leaders are one who focus on supervision, organization, and the group performance. They are concerned about the status quo, the day-to-day progress towards goals. Leadership has got two phases, as we have discussed. One, who are concerned with the day-to-day activities. They are not bothered about the vision, mission talk. They are not worried about the boardroom dialogues. They're not worried about brand identity and the media looking after them. They're only worried about the day-to-day goals being achieved. They are happy about the factor that the team is achieving the targets that have been given. They are happy about the fact that we have met what the customer exactly wanted. They are happy about the volume. They are happy about the transaction that is being done through the organization. So these are the people who will only talk about the transaction process. What is the day-to-day transaction that has happened out of my company? Are we able to meet it? Are we able to proceed in that direction? Now, the other side is transformational. These are people who want to work out on wonders. These are people who want to change the organization by motivation and engagement. What is a transformation all about? Can you change Tata Motors to become the next Daimler Chrysler? Can you change Reliance to become the next Shell company of the world? Or can you make a Tata Consumer to become the next P&G or even more bigger as far as possible? Or is it possible that can we make the Big Bazaar as the next Walmart of the world? Now, when I ask you these questions, I'm asking for a transformation. I'm asking for a process that can convert the smallest of the small to the biggest that ever the world can imagine. Now, when Jeff Bezos of Amazon went on a quick space journey, or probably when we are talking about the great Tesla CEO, Elon Musk, coming up with new ideas to transform the world, we are talking about a leadership that is next level, and that is called as the transformational leadership. Why transformational leadership is gathering steam? Why is it becoming important day by day? The answer is quite simple, because they are trying to motivate people. They are trying to change the behavioral patterns altogether. They don't want people to just be happy about the factor that I will go to an office 9 to 5, work continuously, come out of the office extremely happy. Will that be all I'm looking into? Definitely not. I want the people to be motivated. I want the people to be engaged. I want the people to think 10 times, what are we doing? Why are we doing it? How can we change this world? How can we make things even more better? That's where transformational leadership comes in. So they are not happy by the factor that you are achieving your targets. They are not happy by the factor that yes, we have done what we have been doing for the last 10 years. But we want something magic, a miracle to happen in the company, which means as a transformation leader, I'm concerned about two factors. One is called as the innovation, and two, I am worried about the word called as motivation. Why? Because these two words will change the organization to the next league, to the next level. So I am more concerned about the process, the structure, the way how people are thinking, how we will be able to achieve the goal. So transformation leadership is energetic. It is highly defined factor altogether. Now, transactional leadership promotes compliance with existing organizational goals and performance expectations. No doubt about it. Why? Because as a transactional factor, you are very much concerned with that every single point that is happening inside your organization. You are just happy about the fact that as per the rule book we are working. We are not changing our mind. We are working towards that same goal. We are working towards the same activity again and again. Nothing is breaking our mind. Nothing is changing our mindset. We are just working. Continuously we are working, and we are very happy about it. We are not going to get away from that thought process. We are just going to keep on working and achieve that success as far as possible. So that is why this becomes a very, very important factor. So transactional leaders are task and outcome oriented. That's very, very important. They are task and outcome oriented. Now, what happens there when I talk about this word called as task and outcome oriented? They will try to understand, they will try to find out this factor here that they are doing a job and the job has to be done in a particular manner. There needs to be an outcome. There needs to be a quantified result altogether. So that's why we are talking about a task and outcome orientation altogether. Now with that, when we move forward, we will also like to talk about the effectiveness in terms of the strict time, resource constraints, and all those factors. Why? Because everything is limited inside the organization. They don't have time for everything. They don't have time for the factor that, we can go expand, we can think forward, think out of the box. No, we don't want to do that kind of a work. What we are interested is that stick to the rules. Stick to what the project exactly wants. So we will go with that approach. We will get the work done as soon as possible. We will employ a form of management that pays close attention to each and every micro details, and we will not go away from that. If my work is done within the stipulated work hours, within the stipulated time, I'm more than happy. So I'm a kind of boss, I'm a kind of leader who believes that every single organization, every single project needs to be dedicated as per the time. If it is completed as per the rules, as per the time, and my customer is delighted, I have done my job. I don't want to think out of this box. I don't want to think out of this organization. So transactional is more about that efficiency, that effectiveness, the way of getting things done at the least time as far as possible. And that makes me more of a transactional leader rather than a transformational leader. Now, the next thing, transformation leader will focus on increasing the employee motivation and engagement, and the leadership style will emphasize on the followers can identify with vision and values. When I move myself from a transactional to a transformational factor altogether, I am a kind of a person who wants the employees to think with me. I want them to understand this factor extremely clear. I want them to make a factor, make an ideology very clear in the minds. I want them to understand this word. Let me tell that word again. I want you to become my follower. I want you to be a visionary like me. I want you to be a person who can think 10 years ahead. I don't want you to be a person who will just keep on doing the same job, come back, log in and log off out of your system, keep doing the same Excel, same Word and PowerPoint, and come back and tell me the work is done. I'm not a kind of person who works by the time factor. I'm not going to be a person who will keep looking at the watch and say that 5 o'clock, yes, it's time to log out. No. I am a transformation leader. I might sit late night. I might sit in the afternoon. But what I want is the organization to continuously adapt to a change in a positive manner so that the growth is well defined. So that's where transformational leader actually comes into picture. Now, moving further, the individual strength and weakness which we need to focus. When you look into an employee, you look at him from its strength, weakness, and opportunity and threat. You do a SWOT analysis. That's very, very important for us. Let me just write it down here. The SWOT analysis: strength, weakness, opportunity, and threat. Look into an employee from his strength and weakness. Do not look into an employee as just a person, as just another liable unit inside the organization, not another cost center. Definitely, this employee has got some strength. He has got some weakness. Let's focus on the strength. Let's build his capability. Let's invite him into the organization by including him into diversified projects. Let's see what is his capability in terms of execution, in terms of communication, in terms of delivery. So that's where we will be able to see that every single employee has and will be given an opportunity to be participative. He will also become a part of the decision-making process altogether. So as a transformational leader, I do not want at any point of time my employees to be laid back, my employees to be non-participative, my employees being isolated as an island. I want every single employee of my organization to be a part of the decision-making. They need to be on tips, on toes every time in terms of understanding what is happening next. Where is this information coming in? Why the organization wants to build in a change, and how are we going to reflect that change in the world? So automatically, my way of leadership is transforming life, is making people understand the value of their job, what they are doing. So that's why transformation leadership is highly addictive in nature. It is highly energetic, that can really bring in a magical effect into the organization. Moving forward, let me now try to talk about a comparison here. Transactional and transformational leadership exhibit 5 key differences. One, where I'm going to react to the problem as they arrive. That's a transactional leadership, what I'm trying to say. Why I say that as a transactional leadership here is that I will get up only to the situation. I'm not going to react unless and until the situation asks me to react. Which means to say that if a problem is going to come in the data processing, in the marketing, in the HR, in the operation, let me look into that problem first. Let me try to understand why that issue is cropping up from that department only. So my ideology is that react to the situation and do not try to create situations in your mind. So address the problem then and there, finish it off. That's what is a transactional leadership all about. But then a transactional leadership will also work within the existing organization culture, while transformation leadership emphasize on transformation of the culture itself. A very, very important factor that we have to understand here. Many people hate asking questions, and that's what organization likes most of the time. If you try to ask question and you are not able to get an answer for it, it would be better that I didn't ask that question at all. That's where transactional leadership comes in a big way. Why? Because these leaders believe very, very clearly, please don't ask me questions. Please don't ask me to change. Please don't ask me to do things which is not prescribed. Follow what has been told by the organization, and that's enough for me. But as a transformational leader, I love people who will ask questions. I love people who will ask for change. I love people who will come back and tell me, sir, what we can do better than what we were doing yesterday. So that's where the key difference comes into picture. Do what I say and try to do something what others have not did. That's exactly a difference between a transactional and a transformational as we are speaking. Moving forward, transactional leadership always go on the reward and and punishment scenario. It's a quite common factor. As we have come up in our life, going through the different classes and different sections of educational format, we have always been told about a simple factor, the first rank, second rank, third rank concept. In our class, during our Esther years, always we used to feel about this word called as who has got the rank, who has got the highest mark, who is the first rank. Why? Because we are all transactional in mind. We go with that reward and punishment. If you get the first rank, you get a reward. If you get the last rank, you will get a punishment. Simple factor. That's exactly what a transactional leadership will also do. You are rewarded for getting the work done on time, and you will be punished if you're not doing the job within that time. So transactional leadership is traditional. It will only focus on the time factor, completion factor. Now, a transformational leader will try to attempt to achieve a positive result by keeping the employee invested in the project, which means to say that I am not interested in a reward punishment scenario as of right now. Let's not talk about it. What we are interested is that let's keep the employee continuously engaged in a project and we will see the results together. It is not just a one-man job where you do some data entry, fine, you have finished the file, close it and go back home. Rather, let me see what can you analyze out of the data and what results are you going to bring to the table. So I will wait for the employee to get completely engaged, interested, and let's see what analysis is going to come out. So I'm not interested in instant rewards and punishment. I am interested in a long-term investment, in a long-term engagement with the employee. Moving further, transactional leaders appeal to the self-interest of the employee who seek rewards for themselves. In contrast, transformation leaders who appeal for group interest and factors. A very simple and interesting format altogether. When I talk about a transactional leader, I am only interested in your growth, in your policy. Please don't look on the other side. There might be 100 employees in the organization or 1,000 employees, but what is that you are doing? What is that you are contributing? Is your work done? Are you coming on time? Are you doing the projects on time? That's what this transaction all about. So be self-interested. That's exactly what transactional leadership talks about. But when I talk about a transformational leadership, I am talking about the group, I am talking about the organization, I am talking about all those hundreds and thousands of people who are working together under the same umbrella, under the same brand, same identity called as organization. So that's where transaction and transformation takes a complete change. Work for the team, work for yourself. This is a very big difference. Next, transactional leadership is more to be known in terms of common notions of management, whereas when we talk about a transformation leadership, it is more colloquially referred to as a leadership at a different level altogether. Why? Because transactional sticks to the management rule, whereas transformation leadership will try to move forward in terms of a different thought process altogether. Now, individualized consideration or compassionate leadership, that's very, very important when we talk about. Intellectual stimulation is where we are going to focus on the coming days, and inspirational motivation. Most of the transformational leaders will inspire, will motivate you to reach the next level, followed by idealized influence or charismatic leadership. That's what you see in a transformation altogether. People are inspired by your speech. People are inspired by your act and your thought process. That makes leadership all bigger when compared to just the transactional analysis altogether. Now, an intellectual stimulation is where you encourage employees on creativity, you challenge them on the status quo, you aim to make a consistent innovation, you empower the employees in terms of the leadership factor, you make them risk-taking, and you make them to achieve the goals that is needed. Followed by a motivation. Now, when you talk about this motivation, you are inspiring employees to improve their outcome. You explain them how the organization will change. You tell them the purpose and objectivity of being there. You link the employee to the organization and you help them in terms of succeeding, that is on a greater level altogether. Followed by, you also influence, promote a broad, inclusive vision. You lead by example. You show a strong commitment towards the goal. You are creating a trust and confidence. You represent the organizational goals, culture, and mission, which is very, very important. So what you are doing is that you are influencing the employee to think, to do activities as that has been told. With this, I come to the end of this particular session. I hope and believe that all the information shared through this particular session would be of a great help and resource to you. In the upcoming sessions, we shall learn more about the organizational behavior, factors, and influences. But until then, stay tuned, stay blessed, and stay enlightened forever. Thank you once again for joining me today on this wonderful session.